Hello my lovelies, my name is Stephanie and welcome back to my channel. On this channel I cover kind of trans topics, a little bit about my life and things like that, so if you enjoy this video please don't forget to comment just down below and maybe consider subscribing, why not, who knows. So leading on from my most recent live, which if you don't know happens the last Sunday of every month here on my channel, I always get quite a lot of questions about hormones, the effects that they have on your mood, my kind of journey to have gender reassignment, kind of gender affirming hormone replacement therapy and things like that. So I thought it was finally time for me to do a solo video on hormones. Okay, so a super simple and easy place to start is which hormones do I take personally? So the hormones I've taken have kind of changed over time, but I've only ever been on two types of hormones. That's four. I've only ever been on two types of hormones for the duration of my transition. One of these was a blocker which was called Decapeptyl, which is a testosterone blocker often used in kind of younger adolescents trans people, and I had injections of 11.25 milligrams every 11 weeks because it's meant to be 3 monthly, but mine was like slightly less than that. I don't have one of those to show you because they are really expensive, and once I had my surgery I didn't need them anymore, so I don't have any to hand, so unfortunately I cannot show you those. So the other hormones that I take are estrogen. These are 2 microgram tablets and this is a 3-month pack, so there is 84 tablets just in there. I have taken estrogen every day since I was 18 years old. I started taking them on the 28th of March 2015, so just after my 18th birthday. I was actually prescribed them at the age of 16, but my local GP wouldn't prescribe them to me because he was a transphobic asshole. Okay, so now that you know which hormones I take, we can dive into my kind of journey to getting hormones, wait times, and all of that. So, as I mentioned just before, I started taking hormones when I was 18 years old on the 28th of March 2015. I was prescribed them at an earlier date, but I had a lot of issues getting them prescribed in my local area in kind of rural Cornwall because transphobia, awful people, and all of that good stuff. I started my journey to hormones and hormone replacement therapy the first time I went to a medical appointment in London. I was very, very clear from my first appointment at 13 years old when I went to Tavistock and Portman. I want hormones, I want hormone replacement therapy, I want to go through a female puberty. Now, my journey to hormone replacement therapy was a little bit different to most people's because I never went through a male puberty and I never naturally started a male puberty because I had problems with my pituitary glands due to an underactive thyroid mixed with celiac disease, which is a condition that affects your thyroid gland, which is obviously to do with your pituitary gland and your kind of hormones and things like that. And then my celiac disease, which is an intolerance to gluten, and that also caused a lot of problems with my kind of glands and things like that. I don't know why, don't ask me why, I couldn't tell you. So my journey to hormones was quite different because I qualified for them a lot younger than I got them. I started off going to the Tavistock and Portman, which is kind of the psychotherapy side of things and not the kind of physical hormone side of things. I was there for 2 years. I was then referred to the endocrinology team at University College London Hospitals when I was 15, 16. And it was there that after years of transitioning, going to Tavistock and Portman, that they found out all of these issues with my pituitary gland. So what they did is they tried to put me on a gluten-free diet to push through my natural testosterone, which it did. So essentially they exposed me to my natural testosterone, which was not what I wanted. And as a child, I really wish I had pushed back against it more, but when you're a child, you just kind of listen to doctors. So they exposed me to testosterone for about 3 to 6 months. I grew 3 inches and I was done. I fully said to them, I was like, this needs to stop right now. So I was prescribed Decapeptyl. I started getting that every 3 months and that completely stopped my natural testosterone. So I essentially wasn't producing a natural hormone for about 2 years because I was eventually prescribed estrogen, a higher level of estrogen because I had no natural hormone in my body. So what they were trying to do was they were trying to give me a higher dose of estrogen to push me through a more female puberty, to help my bones develop and things like that. So I was prescribed my estrogen when I was 16, 17, and I didn't receive it from my GP until after my 18th birthday because of all the morals of that GP's hang-ups on giving a child hormone replacement therapy because, again, like I say, arsehole. So yeah, from my first appointment to actually receiving my hormones was about, well, I suppose it was technically 3.5 years from my first appointment to being prescribed estrogen, and 5 years from my first appointment to receiving estrogen. So I actually received estrogen 2 years later than I could have because I qualified for it at the age of 16, but because the doctors were focused on my pituitary glands and not my, and then because my GP wouldn't give me, so it was delayed essentially. So that's kind of the journey to my hormones, and that is the wait time. So we're talking like a 5-year window here, no puberty, nothing like that. So yeah, it was a lot. Okay, so what effects do hormone replacement therapy in trans people kind of have on your body and things like that? So for myself, as I am a male to female trans person, I can only speak from my experience as being male to female. I don't know exactly what happens when you go from FTM and you get prescribed testosterone. I know a little bit, but I don't know a huge amount, so I'm not going to kind of advise on that. I'm going to be talking about the effects that estrogen had on me as a young trans MTF girl. So the immediate effects it had on my body was my mental mood. I became very, very moody, kind of very elevated mood swings and things like that. The way I kind of controlled that was through breathing exercises and things like that. It did calm down within about a month, but because I hadn't gone through a male puberty, I hadn't been exposed to like emotional mood swings as such in that capacity. So it was very strange for me to kind of go through that and start experiencing them at a very adult age. You know, I was 18, I had just turned 18, so I was technically an adult when I started to go through all of those things. The next thing that changed for me, the first thing that I noticed was my fat distribution. My fat distributed much more to my hips and my kind of lower stomach area. I was quite chubby anyway, so I didn't really notice a huge difference, and my breast growth unfortunately wasn't very extreme. I think one of the biggest things that you notice is your nipples get much sensitive. They've changed shape very differently. Mine changed colour, and so that was kind of another change that really happened. My face didn't really change a lot. I think the thing is, for me, I started taking my hormones as I started to lose weight as I was turning into an adult. So for me, it was kind of difficult to gauge the effect it had on my body because I was losing so much weight and then it was being redistributed to other areas. But those were kind of the main effects it had on my body, were the redistribution of fat, it was the breast growth, and it was the kind of mood swings. My hair got a bit shinier, which is nice. But those were kind of the main effects that I noticed. When I was a child, well, when I was a young adult, I did struggle taking my hormones every day. So I feel like I didn't experience the full extent of what hormones can do to your body because I didn't take them every single day. So I highly, if you're watching this, please take your hormones every single day. They are so important to take every day. And I didn't when I was younger because I was younger and I didn't want to take tablets and whatever. And I was an art student and I was doing other drugs. That's a story for another day. So I probably didn't experience the full amount of kind of breast growth and things like that that I could have experienced had I taken them every day like I should have. I think the thing is, for me, when I was younger, because I hadn't gone through a male puberty, I already looked and sounded like a girl. My face didn't change at all. This is how my face looked before. And so I just kind of, I guess I didn't feel the need for them, but it really did impact kind of my breast growth and things like that, not kind of going through those steps. Okay, so the next thing to mention is cost. So I'm very, very fortunate that I went through the NHS system here in England, and I was very adamant from a young age that I had to go through that system because my parents and my family could never have afforded the private kind of sector for me. So I have never had to pay for any of my estrogen, any of my blockers and things like that. However, I do know that in this country a standard prescription is around about kind of £11 per item in this country. So it would have, I mean, God, £11 a month over, how long have I been taking it? The last, I mean, it's, gosh. I mean, it's around about kind of £700, £800. My maths is completely terrible. So I would say it would be around about the like £700 to £800 kind of benchmark for my hormones over that period of time, which is still really reasonable compared to kind of black market hormones, which can set you back hundreds of pounds a month, which I know people who have done that. I went through the NHS system, it was the only way I could afford it, but I do know how much a Decapeptyl injection costs because when I was referred them, my GP in London, because I had moved to London by that time, refused to prescribe them to me because of the cost of them, and the cost of them as a single item when I was receiving them was £250 per injection. So £250 for my Decapeptyl without the cost of my estrogen. Like, it's huge. They're huge costs, even more so if you get them on the black market. I obviously don't condone buying drugs on the black market, but I understand that all trans people, like, you feel desperate at times. So those are kind of the costs. Is I paid nothing because I went through the NHS, but it was long. It made the entire process longer. I sacrificed things because of how long the process was. And it's not like in other countries like America and things like that where you have to pay for certain things. So for myself, I always feel incredibly fortunate that I didn't have to pay for my prescriptions. Okay, so that leads me into, are there alternatives for hormone replacement therapy? Now, I am sure that there are kind of holistic avenues that you could go down, but speaking from a medical kind of point of view, there is nothing that's going to affect change more in your body than the blocking of your natural male hormone and the introduction of a female hormone. There are certain foods you can eat like chickpeas and yams which have a higher level of natural estrogen in them, but there is nothing that's going to impact change in your body more than the medical intervention of blocking your natural testosterone or your natural estrogen and then introducing artificial estrogen, artificial testosterone and things like that. So honestly, in terms of kind of a holistic alternative route, I would say that there's not really much you can do. In terms of sourcing hormones yourself via the internet and things like that, there are some kind of semi-reputable places that you can go through. I know when I was younger and I was in secondary school, I experimented with sourcing estrogen and things like that on the internet, but I could never really afford to do it. So I did explore that, and those avenues are out there. And while I don't condone that behaviour, I'm also not damning it, because I know that the wait lists are incredibly long and going through this change is incredibly stressful and you just want it to be over. So there are avenues that you can explore that way. However, getting hormones from the internet, it's not regulated, so you don't know exactly what you're getting. Often it doesn't have the kind of advertised amount of the drug that you need, and it can be really dangerous. There can be things in there that you're allergic to but you don't know about and things like that. So it can be a really difficult thing to do and go through like that. So I do support you if you need to do it, but I'm not condoning it at the same time. So my lovelies, that's kind of my relationship to hormones, my journey to getting hormones, which hormones I take, the effects that they had on my body over a period of time and things like that. If you would like a separate video on kind of pictures of me before hormones and after, because I've been on hormones for 5 years now, then I'd be happy to do that. I mean, this is how I look 5 years on hormones, but I did look very similar to this before I started taking hormones. I mean, my face thinned out a lot, but that was due to the fat distribution and that was due to myself getting my thyroid. There were a lot of contributing factors. So my body didn't change a huge amount with estrogen. So, you know, take it with a pinch of salt. It's different for everyone, but for me, they were very kind of small results, but that was a lot to do with the fact that the medication wasn't been taken kind of every single day. So my lovelies, I hope that you really enjoyed this video. I hope it answers some of the questions that you had about the effects that it has on your body taking hormones, the effect it has on your mental health, my kind of journey to getting hormones as a teenager, and things like that. So that is it from me for today's video. If you have any questions or you have any comments, please just pop them down below. If you would like to subscribe to my channel, then please feel free to do that. Click the notification bell too if you don't want to miss notifications. I put out new videos every Wednesday at 6:30 GMT. I put out story times every second Sunday, and I do a live stream every last Sunday of the month. So that's it from me, my lovelies, and I will see you next week for a brand new video. See you then. Bye.